everyone. It's time for another look at the introduction to a bad acceptance book. Today we are looking at Body Respect. It does say by Lucy Moore and Linda Bacon, but it is worth noting that Linda is now Lindo, and I will be referring to them as Lindo Bacon, not Linda, for this. It harms no one for me to respect how they want to be called. And so I'm gonna just, even though it says Linda here, I would just prefer to say how they are, what they are called now. So anyway, this is a little bit of a long introduction. There isn't a huge amount for me to say, but I do have like 6 tabs worth of things. So I didn't see anything like the first one, but okay, so this paragraph was the first one. So this is a follow-up to the original Health at Every Size book. And it's kind of talking about the success of that book and the community that it is building. And so the first thing I want to know is here where it says, HAES is an entirely hopeful, helpful doctrine, and it belongs not to a single author or set of authors, but to a large and growing cohort of people, lay and professional, who are bound by their mutual desire for respect and equality and by their challenge of commonly held assumptions about fat. So I find it really interesting that even the queers refer to this as a doctrine, and this is not the first time. Well, not the first. It is the first time in this book, but it's not the last time they will use kind of religious verbiage to make their point, and I find that a bit concerning. And I know I've said that I think HAES and fat acceptance, and there's a bit of a culty atmosphere to it, and this is something that also kind of lends to that. It's interesting that they refer to it as a doctrine, as something, as a doctrine is typically referred to for a religious text, and so I find it interesting. It's an interesting choice of words. There's a bit about who this book is for, and it talks about helping those with self-image and helping doctors unlearn their weight bias and not to categorize people. But what I thought was interesting was the third group of people that they are reaching out to. Third, we want to reach out to policymakers and change agents, people on the front lines of community development, their allies in public health working to reduce health inequalities, where social differences in access to nutritious foods and personal circumstances need to be regularly active made all too starkly have been made all too starkly obvious. It is easier to keep our focus on improving individuals' ability to adopt more healthy lifestyle habits. Undoubtedly, eating and exercising affect well-being, and not everyone has access to material means to be active and eat well. So, let's see, active and eat well. So, the social inequity needs to be addressed, but these inequities need attention because they are a travesty, challenging inequity for its own justification, and should not require a health improvement checklist to legitimate action. That said, lifestyle doesn't have nearly as much impact on anyone's health as the anti-obesity brigade would have us believe. In fact, the non-material or social effects of living with deprivation and discrimination account for a huge portion of the social gradient in health, much more than attributed to health behaviors. Now, this is where I have a big issue. There's a couple of things here that I have some issues with. I don't really think that you need material means to be active. That being said, I don't want to completely discount this note here because there is a kernel of truth in that, given that it is much harder to be active in America right now because for a couple of reasons. Um, One, there's just a general feeling of unsafety. Like it doesn't feel safe in a lot of places. and not everyone has money for a gym or room in their apartment for a safe place to work out. But I think the bigger thing, quite frankly, is that wages are so fucking low that you have to work 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And if those jobs that you're working are places where you are stationary, either be it standing or sitting, you're not really able to get up and move around a lot, that creates significant difficulties. Plus, if you're working multiple jobs, you're probably not getting as much sleep as you need, and you are more likely to eat when you're tired. So I do agree to an extent that policies should be put in place to allow people, and I'm talking about Americans because that's what I know, um, but to allow U.S. citizens a better quality of life, an opportunity to work out, able to earn enough so that way their 9 to 5 is enough and they have at least some semblance of time to take care of themselves. I do agree that there should be more subsidies placed on healthier vegetables to make them cheaper. That's part of the reason why corn is so cheap, because it's subsidized by the government. And I'm not saying that other vegetables aren't, but I don't think that they are as much as wheat and corn is. But don't quote me on that. I need to check my facts on that one. But also, there's nothing preventing people from these big companies marketing to young kids for unhealthy food choices, which is also a contributing factor to unhealthy eating starting early in life, because parents are already overworked and exhausted, and then their little Johnny just wants a sugary cereal. It's an affordable treat that parents can give their kids. So I mean, there are some systemic issues around the ability to be healthy. It's not completely black and white. That being said, this fucking bullshit of lifestyle doesn't have nearly as much impact on anyone's health as the anti-obesity brigade would have you believe. In fact, the non-material or social effects of living with deprivation and discrimination account for a huge portion of the social gradient in health. I want to see your fucking sources on this one, because I call fucking bullshit. This is the one that actually pisses me off the most. You want to say that you can be healthy fat? We're gonna concede. We're gonna concede that for the sake of the point I'm trying to make here. Let's pretend for a moment that you can be morbidly obese and still be perfectly healthy as an average weight person. We're just gonna put that aside for a moment, okay? We're gonna put that aside from everything else. You cannot fucking convince me that lifestyle has a minimal effect on your well-being. I call fucking bullshit on that. I'll tell you why I call fucking bullshit on that. Because I have 2 family members who are thin but older. Granted, they smoke like chimneys, but their biggest issue is that they don't exercise. They sit. They probably get less than 2,000 steps a day because they don't move at all. And as a result, between that and their smoking, they are winded just going short distances. They want to travel, but at the same time, they get exhausted, completely exhausted from running one errand. And it can be a quick get in, get out errand, and they are fucking exhausted. And part of that is because, granted, they're older, they're elderly, and I am not discounting that. But I help care for these 2 relatives, and they would be in much better situation if they moved more. And I'm just talking regular walks. I'm not talking a full-on workout. There's a bunch of people that are elderly that end up in assisted living homes, and you know why? Because the muscles in their legs have worn out, because they're retired and they become very sedentary. And I'm not talking just watching TV. It could just be a series of sedentary activities that they enjoy. But because of that, the muscles in their legs aren't what they used to be, and they can't get up from the toilet. because when you get older, your muscle naturally wants to waste away, and it wastes away at a faster rate. So to say that lifestyle doesn't have nearly as much impact on anyone's health is fucking bullshit. It's just fucking bullshit. Let's pretend that you can be morbidly obese and healthy. Okay, let's just pretend for a moment that that's the case. You can't be both morbidly obese and sedentary and healthy. Pick two. Pick two. Because both your pulmonary and cardiovascular health require regular exercise, regular exertion to get those organs in use, and they can tolerate higher levels of stress when they are used regularly. It's just so much fucking bullshit, and this is the claim that pisses me off more than anything else. This idea that you can be perfectly healthy while just sitting and doing nothing. It pisses me off so fucking much. So I found this interesting. I remember in one of the Fat Logic videos that I've done, there was someone that made this whole claim, and now I know where they got it from. We don't tell people being fat gives you a heart attack, just like we wouldn't tell someone with yellow teeth that the color of their teeth is going to give them lung cancer. Someone made that exact same comparison, and I already refuted it, but I found it very interesting to find, like, the source of that. Clearly, I mean, this is almost verbatim of what was in that Fat Logic video that I made. It's interesting. So that wasn't an original perspective, most likely. Most likely they got it from this book. So here, I just wanted to note the invocation of religious language here. Throughout, we consider how dogma, myths, and prejudices about fatness presented in this value-laden obesity presented as the value-laden obesity have trumped actual evidence in our society's evolving views of weight and health. I would like to know what this evidence is, number one, but again, between the doctrine of HAES and then dogma and myths, it's just an interesting. I'm not even entirely sure how I feel about it, quite frankly. It's just something that I noticed, and it is picking at my brain. So this is really interesting. Support for you. This is about people that embraced HAES and how now they may have to deal with people that say, no, this is a bunch of bullshit. It can be exhausting to believe in a new paradigm, a completely changed view of familiar matters, and to have to defend or explain it again and again to everyone mired in old ways of thinking. HAES advocates are not above critique, nor is its theory set in stone or its strategies unanimously agreed on. It's critical that the movement be open to the inevitability of flaws, gaps, and new perspectives, including proactively seeking input from marginalized communities. But to be positioned as an ambassador for any cause can be draining. That's where education and the HAES community come in. There's a large growing community around HAES and size acceptance. Interesting, size acceptance. We're going to have to look up that term on TikTok. Both online and in associations and at workshops and conventions, and as books and courses on this topic proliferate. Workshops emerge and more clinics adopt HAES ideas. There is hope for more. So my big takeaway from this is, one, it's framed in a way that a lot of these social justice ideologies are framed, in that it's like inherently right, and it's about you adapting a new way of thinking. And I disagree with that. Like, she opens it up that, there's flaws, gaps, and whatever in it, but she makes such serious claims about, lifestyle not having a great impact on your health, that I tend to think that any flaws that are found are just ones that would give more breadth to what doesn't affect you, what personal choices and decisions that you make don't affect you. I think if it was truly open to being morphed, and if it was more about, you know, molding this theory into something that is better for all, they wouldn't be quite so dismissive of traditional ways of thinking of health and fitness, of calories in, calories out, of exercise being good, of there being healthy, such things as healthy foods. I think if this was really looking to be something for everyone and to help everyone, it would be a bit more inclusive to other forms of thinking and seeing and at least acknowledging the value in those things, where I feel that in this introduction it's been largely dismissive. And I think that by positioning these people as ambassadors, this is part of where a lot of the fat acceptance people get their sense of power, because they are ambassadors for this way of thinking. They are ambassadors for this ideology, meaning that they have a stake in the game and they have something to fight for. And I just find it very interesting. So that's about it for the Body Respect introduction to this book. This is pretty interesting. I'm starting to think that maybe we should read the original Health at Every Size book first before we broach this one. But I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Let me know what you think about this book in the comments. If you want to read this, the introduction is on Amazon. Thank you, and I will see you next time.